Aaliyah was a beautiful girl. Big, expressive eyes sparkled with life. Her smile, rare and fleeting, held a hint of sadness. She was only 10 when tragedy struck. A cruel twist of fate snatched her parents away. Aaliyah was alone. The world felt cold and unwelcoming. She was sent to live with her aunt and uncle, a bitter couple with hearts as cold as stone. Their house, grand and imposing, became her prison. Gone was the warmth of love, replaced by the icy chill of indifference. Life at her aunt and uncle's home was a harsh contrast to her previous life. Gone were the days filled with laughter and love. Now, each day dawned with the bitter taste of dread. Her aunt, a woman with a sharp tongue and even sharper eyes, regarded Aaliyah as a burden, an unwanted guest. Her uncle, a man of few words and even fewer smiles, seemed to share his wife's sentiment. Aaliyah was no longer a cherished daughter, but a housemaid. Chores piled up like mountains before her. Each day was an endless cycle of cleaning, cooking, and catering to her aunt and uncle's every whim. Aaliyah's days were filled with hardship and sorrow. Her aunt's sharp words stung like 1,000 bees. Insults were hurled at her like stones. "Useless girl," her aunt would shriek, her voice dripping with venom. "You are nothing but a burden on us." Evenings brought no respite from her torment. Her uncle, fueled by drink, would often lash out, his heavy hand leaving painful reminders of his cruelty. Aaliyah bore it all with silent tears, her spirit slowly crumbling under the weight of their abuse. Aaliyah often wondered why her aunt and uncle kept her. Why subject themselves to the burden of caring for her? The answer, she soon discovered, was a simple one: greed. Aaliyah's parents, she learned, had left behind a sizable property. A house, land, and a small fortune awaited Aaliyah on her 18th birthday. Until then, her aunt and uncle were her legal guardians, entrusted with her well-being and her inheritance, but their intentions were far from noble. They coveted her inheritance, their eyes gleaming with avarice at the thought of her wealth. Aaliyah was nothing more than a meal ticket, an unfortunate necessity on their path to riches. Despite the hardships, a small ember of hope flickered within Aaliyah's heart. It was fueled by whispers, hushed conversations overheard in the dead of night. Servants, their voices low with sympathy, would speak of her parents with a reverence that brought tears to Aaliyah's eyes. They told tales of her parents' kindness, their love for their daughter, and their sorrow at her fate. These stories, fragments of a happy past, were Aaliyah's solace. They reminded her that she was once loved, cherished, and somewhere deep down she clung to the belief that love, like a phoenix, could rise from ashes. One day, rummaging through the attic, Aaliyah stumbled upon a hidden treasure, a small leather-bound diary. It belonged to her mother. As Aaliyah delicately turned the brittle pages, her mother's words seemed to leap out at her, filled with a love that transcended even death. Her mother wrote of her dreams for Aaliyah, her hopes for a bright future filled with joy and laughter. She wrote of a world waiting to be explored, of adventures to be had, of a life waiting to be lived. A seed of hope, long dormant, began to sprout in Aaliyah's heart. It was a fragile thing, easily crushed, yet it stubbornly clung to life, nurtured by her mother's words. The diary became Aaliyah's refuge, her secret garden. In its pages, she found solace from the harsh realities of her life. Her mother's words fueled a longing within her, a yearning for a life beyond the confines of her prison. Aaliyah began to dream. She dreamt of escaping her prison, of creating a life filled with the love and laughter her parents had so carefully cultivated. It was a burden she carried, this weight of dreams, yet it was a burden she cherished. One day, a new face appeared at the house, a distant relative, a kind-faced woman with gentle eyes and a warm smile. She treated Aaliyah with a kindness she had almost forgotten. In her presence, Aaliyah felt a glimmer of hope, a flicker of warmth in the ever-present chill. The woman, Mrs. Sharma, seemed to see through Aaliyah's quiet facade. She saw the pain, the fear, but also the strength and resilience that burned within her. Mrs. Sharma became a confidant, a silent ally in a house full of enemies. Aaliyah dared to hope. Could Mrs. Sharma be her way out? Could she be the key to unlocking the chains that bound her? As Aaliyah's 18th birthday approached, a new sense of urgency filled her. Time was running out. The thought of her inheritance falling into the clutches of her greedy aunt and uncle was unbearable. Mrs. Sharma, sensing Aaliyah's growing desperation, made a promise. "I will help you," she whispered, her voice firm with resolve. "We will find a way." Aaliyah clung to those words like a lifeline. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger, but with Mrs. Sharma by her side, Aaliyah dared to believe that a brighter dawn awaited her. The hidden heiress, her spirit unbroken, was ready to fight for her future, for her freedom, for her right to a life filled with love and happiness.